how to be a man and how to live from a place of personal authenticity. For years growing up as a man or a younger man, I always used to question to myself and ask myself, what does it mean to be a man? How do you be a man? Because obviously growing up for many years, I was very insecure. Secretly, I had social anxiety, I was very paranoid, I had a lot of problems with jealousy, and I had lots of problems with self-trust and problems with trusting other people. And I was really ashamed about my anger. I used to be really embarrassed by how angry I was. It's a really difficult, confusing place to be at psychologically when you're so angry that you can't meet people. I used to be embarrassed that if I was to socialise with people, they would be able to see just through looking at my eyes. That's why I had a problem looking people in the eye at the time. They would be able to tell that I was angry, and they'd be frightened of me. Not only would they be frightened of me, they would have a bad opinion about me that would hurt me. Unconsciously, I was frightened of being rejected by people. I would say I was petrified of a sense of abandonment through everyone, through family, through God, through the universe, through my environment, through my home, my own emotions. So I continued to play out. It's weird to say this, but deep down I knew I wasn't a man, or I knew I wasn't being a man. And deep down I knew that my influences around me at that time, and I'm not judging anyone, I'm speaking about myself here, my influence around me were men just like me. Men that were terrified, frightened kids in male bodies. You know, this kind of went from the age of sort of 17 up to, I'd say it went up to about my mid-20s, a bit past that, maybe up till 27. I'm going to be 33 very soon. So I question things, you know, as you do to yourself. Obviously I grew up with a very strict dad. Now that's not to say that all of these attributes were wrong. They just wasn't right for me, and the rest of society didn't seem to function in that way. Certainly not the rest of what I'd call functional society. It was people that were like myself, that were dysfunctional, low self-esteem, addicted to drugs, alcohol, violence, angry, hateful, sometimes racist, prejudiced. These are all in the same bracket as fear. But I was scared. And not only was I scared, I was terrified. I was terrified because I was terrified of my own dad growing up, because he was angry towards me, he was violent. But of course he had a very loving, kind side, nurturing side. But the fear that put on me, it just knocked out all of the love. Does that make sense? Are you with me? So those fearful episodes that I had with my dad and other angry men in school, violent situations growing up, it knocked out all of my self-trust, and it knocked out my self-control. That's why I was so complex with, on one hand, being such a kiss-ass, such a people pleaser. Yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, always agreeing with people, always trying to fit in, follow the trend. If everyone wears Nike Air trainers, I'm going to wear Nike Air trainers. If everyone's going to listen to a particular trend of music, I'm going to follow that, even if that goes against what I really feel in my heart. If other people bully a certain group of people, I'm going to bully that set of people, because I'm frightened to stand up for myself and say I don't want to be a bully. So I was not living from a place of authenticity. I was not living from a place of love, obviously not at that time. That's why I had so much social anxiety. That's why I was so paranoid. That's why I was so jealous. That's why I was so... all of those things. I wasn't trusting of other people. I didn't trust my family. I didn't trust the world. I didn't trust society. I didn't trust the government. I didn't trust religion. I didn't trust politics. I was completely in a place of darkness, a place of no love, no freedom. I was a prisoner in my own body, my own thoughts and my own feelings. And my life was being dictated my life was being dictated at the cost of pleasing other people, or pleasing a certain group of people. But now I've gotten older and I've overcome these fears, or let's use the word I've come to terms with these fears, and I am living now from a place of pure love, personal authenticity. Of course it doesn't mean I don't get scared from time to time. I am a human being after all, but I am living from this true place. It's beautiful, and all those things, all those characteristics, I've killed them, or even I've got self-control. So I ask myself this question even now, and I don't just ask myself this, I ask this on a global level. And as this may feel cheesy as I say it, I care about my fellow men. I love my fellow men. Of course I love my fellow men, because they're me, I'm connected to them. If I hate other people, if I hate men or I hate anyone, that means I hate myself, that means I'm disconnected, and I don't feel that way at all. So it all came back to the fear of abandonment or the fear of being judged. They're all the same. Low self-esteem is the fear of abandonment. Fear of rejection, people pleasing, trying to fit in. One of the things I learned as I got past my mid-20s, in trying so hard to please everyone and fit in, I fitted out. As I'm getting older now, I'm learning the only way to fit in is to fit out. The only way to please people is by not trying to please people. But within the midst of all this, having a balance. Because I used to say to myself, how can I get the balance right? How can I be myself in this, how can I be myself about my family not getting offended or threatened by me or intimidated or thinking that I think I'm better than them? How can I be myself without not making other people feel intimidated by me? One of my biggest fears of growing up, believe it or not, was intimidating people. Isn't that contradictory, being that I was always so insecure? But these were the contradictions that my life was being plagued with. I was so frightened of other people intimidating me socially, physically, verbally, spiritually, but I was also equally afraid of doing the same to others. I think I'm getting onto something here. I was frightened of myself because I had no self-control. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself from every second of every day. I didn't trust myself to have a conversation in KFC or McDonald's with the person at the checkout without worrying about what they think about me. I didn't trust myself enough to not listen to the naysayers who said that I was only worth £5 an hour a week, sorry. So I was in a place of distrust, fear. I didn't trust myself enough to go and socialise with people, because I thought if one of them says something to me that is out of sync with, you know, what I believe, I might lose my temper and lash out and hit them. And that sounds awful, God forbid, but that's where I was at that time. I'm not apologising for it either, I went through a lot. I didn't trust myself to walk past a brothel, get aroused, run to the cash machine, withdraw the money out and go and pay for sex, and then come out and think, what the fuck have I just done? I've let myself down, I've just paid a prostitute. That's a human being as well, by the way, with feelings. So I didn't trust my own emotions, I didn't trust my good motives. I also didn't trust the bad ones. So being a man, I've got my own answer. I can't speak for everyone, I can only speak for myself. Being a man means self-control. Having self-control is about self-love. Of course it is. If we get a thought coming up and the thought says, I feel attracted to my friend's girlfriend or my friend's wife, but we don't have the self-control, the stamina to say, that isn't right. Okay, I can't help feeling attracted to her, I'm going to refrain from that. I love my friend, and I respect his girlfriend or his wife, and I don't want to ruin our relationship, and I'm going to refrain from that divided thought. That's not who I am as a person. When we refrain, we control that insecure part of ourselves and that jealous side and that side that wants to fantasize on, you know, having sex with our best friend's girlfriend. Let's not deny it, we all have these thoughts. When we don't do that, we connect with ourselves. We also maintain a good relationship with our friend, and we obscure from that emotion and feeling, and we go and find a relationship with someone that's right for us. I used to feel guilty because I had these sick thoughts. I used to get these sick, neurotic, sexual thoughts. I used to think, God, if someone knew that I was having these thoughts, I'd think I was a psycho. But of course I didn't. I realised that everyone has these thoughts. They're mind thoughts. They're conditioned thoughts. They're scaremonger thoughts. What we're being taught in the media, to be scared all the time, to protect. But the only person that we ever need to keep an eye on is ourselves. And in having that self-control, we feel love. We feel love because we refrain from not doing something that's bad and catastrophic, doing the right thing. We know what's right already. We don't need religion to tell us that, although religion is a great reminder. We need to follow our hearts and intuition. So we need to go from here to the heart. I was afraid all the time because I was here a lot, and if I got down here I got frightened. Why did I get frightened? I was frightened of love. Why was I frightened of love? Because growing up, and it could be your old social circle, it could be people at work, it could be anyone. The people that we're afraid of, that are gonna stigmatize us or judge us or abandon us, they are not to blame. And although it's even hard for me to verbalize this, to let this out into the world, they are not to blame. And I know they're not to blame because for years I bought into that illusion. It caused me chaos. When I didn't buy into it, no one bothered me. Now, contradictory to that, that's not to say that people are not going to judge you when you change, because people will judge you. That's one of my biggest, one of my biggest fears. I was frightened to change in case my family and friends would judge me, would feel like I've abandoned them. So I was also frightened of hurting other people. That's because thank God for that, I'm not a psychopath, I've got a lot of empathy. But it always comes back to self-control. Most men have got no self-control because they've taken on the beliefs that to be a man is to react. So I'm going to share this with you. This is really trivia, but it might hit a nerve. When I used to walk down the street, this is about 10 years ago, I was full of rage and anger. I was full of hate about how bad my life was and how bad people had treated me. And if someone just barged me, I would turn around and say, what the F are you doing? And then they'd react or get into a fight or just be chaos, because I had no self-control. Now, I remember I had a friend say to me, I was speaking to him in a similar context, and he said, well, come on, John, are you telling me that it's all about love and it's all about self-control? What people are going to try and, what if someone tries to start and you're going to stand there? I said, you're not understanding something. You're hearing me, but you're not listening. I never said that you stand there and you let someone, you let someone beat you up and you don't respond. If you've got self-control, that doesn't usually happen. You don't attract that. So if we worry about the future, if I worry about now I'm going to walk down the park and in a half an hour's time, and I better be careful what I say because I'm in a powerful frequency, law of attraction, someone might take a dislike to me and might have a punch up. If I worry about that, I can't enjoy this video. I'm probably going to go create that, so that's not going to happen. That's not in my reality, and that's the self-control. So self-control is not just what we do in situations that require self-control, it's how we live. Of course, if you're watching pornography every day, you're going to have no self-control because all of your senses, all of your sub-personalities, all of your egoic personalities are being erupted. Like, it's like in the films when you're a kid and they open up the cupboard and all the bats come out, all the skeletons, all the demons. So of course, if you're a person who can't control his or her addictions, that is already a demonstration of a lack of self-control. So this would apply to women. So it's absolutely been concrete truth for me, and I'm still exploring this truth. And this doesn't come from me. This truth is what I've stumbled upon. Being a man means having self-control. I used to be afraid to be nice to people. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel worthy of giving out love. Thought it wouldn't be reciprocated. It wouldn't even be taken serious. That's how damaged I was when I was younger, through having no self-control. And then another thing comes up, because this is what the egoic mind does. This is what I reckon your mind's doing it now. If I have self-control, I'm going to have a boring life. That's what I used to think. That's the trick of the ego. That's the trick of most of our society. Facebook, social media, gossip, celebrities, frighten us into believing that we have to have a life full of drugs, a life full of violence, a life full of gossip, a life full of cheating on all your friends. That's not for me. That is not the life that I subscribe to. That's not the life I live. I used to live that life. I used to live that life. I used to live a life of gossip, hate, jealousy, cheating, alcohol, no self-control. No wonder I was full of fear. No wonder I woke up every day thinking I'm frightened to come out of the house in case I get killed, stabbed, shot, abused, tricked, betrayed. Of course you're going to have that. Of course that's going to be in your psyche, because you are practicing self-sabotage, self-hate. So self-love is self-control, because we are love. And we've heard this till we're blue in the face, but most of us don't practice it. So what I'm saying is, we don't practice who we truly are. We practice who we think other people want us to be. So you come and meet me, or you meet someone else, and you behave according to how you think I want you to behave. I don't even never met you before. I don't want you to be any more but yourself. And it's interesting how it works, because self-control, being a man, when you are yourself, people like that, people sense that. Obviously, if you're not a vicious self, but a true self isn't violent. A true self of self-control is not hateful, jealous, and all the other bad tendencies. That's why a lot of people struggle to be their true self. So, this is how we answer all those questions. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. What you're really saying is, I'm not sure if I can maintain self-control, because what does self-control actually mean? What is it? It means facing fear. I remember asking myself before one day, why do I get lots of episodes of fear? It's because I've got self-control. So, again, lots of men will say, I'm a man, I'm an alpha male. Do you have the self-control to pay your phone bill? Have you got the self-control to not cheat your friend? Because if you can't stop yourself cheating your friend and betraying your friend, you've got no self-control. You're not a man. Your version of alpha male is certainly not the version that I've aligned to and seen from other powerful men and women, sorry. It's not a man thing, I'm talking about both. So, and that's what I seen as a kid, you know, because you see different things and we feel different things, don't we? We feel, I felt that from James Bond, who is a fictional character, but in a sense he's not fictional. Because James Bond is a representation of what every man has in himself. That's why men love James Bond. A lot of men do, because James Bond had a lot of self-control. Watch the films, it's in the films. Women loved him, beautiful women. Men loved him. Of course he had his villains. His villains were just projections of his own ego. James Bond was a man of love, a gentleman. He was congruent, he was strong, because he had self-control. Not because the fucking looks. That's the trick of the ego, that's the trick of the world, that's what the media says. When I changed, when I worked on my confidence, all of a sudden women couldn't want to be around me. They were very attracted. When I was younger, it was, oh, he's ugly, he's no good, because I had no self-confidence, no self-control, I didn't know how to do it. So it's not about looks, because a lot of men think being a man is being good looking. So many men I've encountered that very handsome. I'm not gay, I'm straight, but even though I think, fucking hell, he's a good looking guy, he's handsome. But he's got no self-control, he doesn't trust himself. He struggles in his life. He don't even trust his friends. He doesn't even trust himself. He doesn't trust the women he dates. He doesn't trust the money that he makes. He doesn't trust his relationships at work. He's in a place of hell because he's got no self-control. Doesn't know who he is. Knows who he is afraid to be that person. So it's about honesty. You have to be honest to have self-control. Do you have the self-control to admit when you're wrong? When I was a young man, I couldn't admit when I was in the wrong. My father always said to me, if you make a mistake, own up to it, be a man. Say sorry. Tell the person you're sorry to, it's my mistake. So it took me a while, then it started to kick in. Because a lot of the times, I'm wrong as well, I make mistakes. You're wrong. Have you got the courage to say, I was wrong? I remember years ago when I had social anxiety, if I was in a conversation with someone and we were debating, I'd get so angry, I'd get into fights with people. It was my insecurity, my lack of self-control, because they were right, I was wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I make the YouTube videos and I make some errors. I might talk about a particular subject and I've got the facts wrong, and someone will correct me on the comments. I don't start writing on the comments long paragraphs, F you. I've got self-control. That's why I get a small amount of criticism. A lot of people say, I don't react. I don't react to it. Because I don't feel it bothers me. It inspires me. I actually like a bit of criticism. Do you know why? Because otherwise I feel smug, I feel arrogant, I feel like a guru, and I'm not a guru. I'm just helping you to help yourself. And that's really what all my teaching is about on my 6 weeks program. That's what I was always trying to get to myself. I've got a lot of self-control in my life. That's why I'm really happy. That's how you overcome the social anxiety. So self-control to not buy into the addictions. But I'm not just talking about pornography, gambling, money, because you could not do these things but still have lack of self-control in other areas. And one of the biggest things I see men going wrong, and a lot of our society, it contributes to this, but we are society on an individual level. Men see an attractive woman and their tongues hang out and all their integrity goes out the river. They're willing to leave their friends, leave the conversation. I guarantee you, right, if we set up a comedy spoof and there was a group of 5 guys in the park now and they were all friends together, and we hired out an actress, a beautiful model, to walk through half naked and to walk over and to say to one of those guys, come with me. I guarantee you the guy would leave all his friends and go with the woman. No self-control. Do you think I'd fall for that? Do you seriously, I'm not talking to you, by the way, I'm talking to my voice inside. Do you seriously think I'd fall for that trick anymore? Do you think I'd leave my friends? Do you think I'd leave my brother, my family? Do you think I'd leave myself for an illusion? This is not towards women, by the way. I'm talking about, so if I was sitting with my mum, or if I was sitting with my aunties or my cousins and a girl walked past and called me over, I'm using the girl as a metaphor, I'm using beauty, because beauty is one of the tricks that the false ego uses on us in our society. Do you seriously think I'd get up and leave them? I've got integrity, I've got class. If I was in a nightclub and there was a guy, and bless his heart, he was anxious and nervous and he was speaking to a girl that he was interested, and I knew in my mind that I could go into the conversation, overpower him and take the girl, do you seriously think I'd do that? Do you think I've got the heart to do that? I would never do that. My old self would do that because I was insecure and I thought I couldn't be loved. And I bought into what everyone else is doing. I wouldn't do that. I leave the guy and respect him. And I wouldn't need to, because I've got the kingdom within. And then of course, when you have that discipline, the universe gives you a beautiful woman anyway. If you're a woman and you're watching this, exactly the same principles for you. Because lots of women have got no self-control. I date loads of women. Not a judgment, an observation. Lots of women have got no self-control. Women get aroused and that's it. All their inhibitions go. And then they wonder why they don't trust men. Because they don't trust themselves. Because they get aroused, they get some validation from a man. They're insecure from the past. Even very beautiful women, I've dated them. And they cheat. Lots of women do it as well. We got to be fair. We got to see this as, because I'm using the word man, but I'm using the word man as in people. Self-control is self-love. Do you know yourself? Do you trust yourself? This is where the love's at. It's so empowering. This is how we live. So this is how we live from a place of authenticity. It's so empowering. So I guess the whole message is in the video, and I got my truth. I asked this question for a long time, and I'm going to leave you this. I had a consultation yesterday with a really lovely young man, young guy, black guy, really big guy, nice fella, and he said to me, he said, I'm going to ask you some questions, do you mind? I said, no, I don't, I love questions. I said, you should always ask questions. I said, because when we ask questions, that's when we get curious and we actually can go and do stuff. So I answered that, I've got that question answered myself. 10 years, maybe 15 years, what does it mean to be a man? Being a man means having self-control, having integrity, doing the right thing, having the courage and the strength to refrain from your temptations doing the wrong thing. When you do that, you attract all the right things. And of course, you love yourself. We always don't love ourselves when we have no self-control. So practice self-control, make it a reality. I'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe. Share the videos if you like, Facebook, Twitter. And I just want to say that I'm really grateful that I've got a lot of women following my stuff. I never would have thought, because I started off when I first made the YouTube channel, and my mindset was very different back then. It was just, you know, me against the world, men against women, and I don't feel like that anymore. So it's very nice that women are getting a lot out of my work. I really appreciate it. And so it's all love. Thank you. Enjoy the process. Bye.